in the sky in the morning, these tic-tac-toe patterns all over the place. It's got to be more than just jet fumes and trails, huh?
No, it is. In fact, let me give you the history of this thing, how they started it. You know, they originally started this back in the 40s and the 50s, and they were spraying silver iodide, and that was relatively harmless to the environment compared to what they're doing now. But then they started doing more and more cloud seeding and weather control, and then the military decided they were going to start teaching their Air Force academies how to do this. In fact, they actually have chemtrail classes in the military. You actually pull up the journals if you'd like online. And what happens is they're spraying these things through the jet nozzles that go into the engines, and they're creating nanocrystals, and they're being put into the air for the weather radar and for the scalar radar. It creates a particulate plasma that can be activated through microwave energy, such as through piezoelectric crystals or through electric optical properties that can be done through like HARP. You can use HARP, which is microwave energy, in what's called a phased array telescope, or not a telescope, antenna, George, and you can actually cause this stuff to glow and become incredibly hot, and you can actually heat up a section of it up to 10,000 degrees in just a few seconds. The military want to be able to do that because they have an incoming ICBM missile. They can actually heat this 10,000 degree pocket of air up in front of the missile, and they can actually cause it to explode as soon as it hits this 10,000 degrees. It'll just literally melt the missile, destroying the military vehicle. Strontium and barium and strontium can take these chemtrails into the field of scalar physics. This allows you to up-concentrate energy at any spot you want to. For instance, you have nuclear bomb-type explosions of chemtrails by creating scalar waves. By discharging, I'll explain to you what those are in a second. By discharging scalar fields, you have massive, massive explosions. That could be what happened in 1908 when Tunguska had that massive explosion. A lot of people believe that Tesla had actually activated the Warkentif Tower back then, George, and actually just tried to broadcast energy into the North Pole, overshot the North Pole, hit Russia, and wiped out tens of thousands of acres. So 2,000 square miles of forest was completely destroyed when he discharged a scalar wave, which is what some people are thinking happened from the Warkentif Tower. The energy can be actually manipulated in the piezoelectric fields. This is what they're spraying with these piezoelectric crystals with the barium and the strontium and the aluminum. You can actually freely move through the field, but it can be triggered by external inputs. You can actually move energy to any place you need to put it. You can make it vibrate. You can turn it up to heat. You can create electromagnetic energy or sound. This is back where the intelligence community comes in now, because they can use sound to make external voices. People, they can hear voices. You heard that they've got this term called the voice of God. They can hit you with certain generated energy frequencies by using this technology and make you nauseous, make you want to vomit, make you suicidally depressed within minutes. The military, again, they use the rockets to weather control Earth properties. They can also trigger earthquakes, George. That's one of the things that people don't understand. There are a lot of earthquakes that are being triggered. They're being triggered at the 10-kilometer depth, and the way you do that is just simply plate tectonics. The earthquakes should be evenly distributed throughout the country, but they're not. And this is what's crazy. What you'd have to do is send an 11 hertz signal through, and it can modulate and trigger earthquakes through the use of scalar fields. This is done with James Maxwell's equations, which have been called the second great, unification of physics after Isaac Newton. He's right up there with Einstein. And this is how they move all this energy around the planet. And how they make these scalar waves is if you have two radio waves, like if you have FM radio wave, and you lay one radio wave on top of another radio wave, they have like a little hump in them. They're like a wave you see on just like you take a water hose and you shake it, you have a wave go the other way. If you have two waves opposite of each other, and you do them both at the same time with a phased array antenna, what happens is you create a longitudinal wave. They annihilate each other, leaving a longitudinal wave. This is why they have to use phased array systems. And then what happens is if you lay two longitudinal waves over on top of each other, George, you create a scalar wave. And the scalar wave is what picks up the energy from the planet. It can be discharged at any point on the planet. But what's interesting about the scalar waves is they go through time-space according to James Maxwell's equations, and they go into the fourth dimension. That's what's so interesting about them. And all the information about this type of physics has been pulled out of the public domain, and it's only used for military applications now, so they're not giving us the research on that any longer. And what's interesting about that is scalar waves have no time or distance variable. In other words, if you transmit a scalar wave right now from this planet to 1,000 light years away, it's there instantaneously in the transmission of information. And that's why it's like thought. Thought waves are scalar waves. Prayers are scalar waves. and you actually change the very fabric of space-time by using scalar waves for prayer or for thought or even the words that you speak.
How old is the technology, Ted?
Oh, gosh. The technology was originally postulated by Maxwell back in the 1800s. Then, of course, Einstein talked about it. Newton never really got into that.
But I mean, in terms of implementing.
Mid-1800s, and then with Tesla's the one who really brought it to the forefront in the late 1800s and early 1900s, especially with the Warcliffe Tower. This technology has been around for a long, long time. This is the same technology, George, they use in the space-based weapons platforms, the Star Wars programs they've talked about. It's the same weapon systems that some people believe were used in taking down of 9/11, like Dr. Judy Wood.
That's right.
So there's a lot of different things that are involved in this. This is this extreme microwave energy laid on top of itself, creating these scalar waves, which can be discharged anywhere on the planet. That's why people are saying, you think we'll have a nuclear war? We don't even need nuclear wars anymore. We can lay entire cities and regions of to waste from outer space now with the scalar weaponry we have right now. It's the crazy stuff. The technology is so far advanced, so much more than we ever thought it would be.
Or even neutron bombs that don't even touch infrastructure. They just take out people.
Yeah. Now, a lot of this stuff was also Victor Schauberger's work. I want to make sure I give him credit, too. When these scalar waves are broadcast, via HAARP, this is fourth-dimensional physics that Maxwell talked about. You create scalar potential. And the scalar value is the number of each third point in the field of mathematics. It gives you a fourth dimension of time-space. The scalar potential becomes self-organizing. The scalar potential eddies throughout the planet, give shape and form to the holographic universe we're in. So what they're trying to do, they're trying to control the attention field of the holographic universe we're in by changing the very fabric of time-space by using the energy contained in the planet. It's really interesting when you start studying this, as I've studied it a lot. You can actually use it to cut tunnels into solid concrete, solid rock. You can actually melt rock with it and put tunnels right through. And what's interesting is that people understand when you pray, the meditation produces thoughts, and thoughts are scalar waves, and they're real, they're incredibly powerful energy waves. And of course, I've discussed this many times as far as scalar waves and information technologies and how you can actually talk across the universe. That's the same way we talked about at the beginning of the show about how the blood of Christ works. And if you want, we can do that too, but we can continue on the technology here on the scalar waves, because there's a lot more information to cover on scalar waves, on Morgellons, and also on HAARP, and also this chemtrail stuff.
So many people are hearing hums across North America, these low-grade hums, and they don't know what's going on. The sound is driving them crazy. Could that be coming from these waves?
It could be coming from the waves. It could also be coming from the tunnel boring equipment they have. They're building vast underground cities in the United States right now. That's some of the trillions of dollars, and I'm sure they've gone missing according to the Federal Reserve. They don't want to tell us where it went. Well, of course, a lot of that money is also being sent out into the different banking systems to buy up the New York Stock Exchange right now. We have about a dozen families that own, majority shares in the top 500 Fortune 500 corporations right now because of all this nonsense. But before Tesla started using the electromagnetic waves, he also worked with acoustics and sound, George, which could be where the hums are coming from. If you receive the right frequency, you could take a building down. It basically breaks the laws of thermodynamics because that's from Newton, because it goes into the physics of the fourth dimension and free energy. This is the science that's postulated for time travel. This is what we're looking at the stars, the Hubble Space Telescope. The Russian scientist Nikolai Kozyrov, he supposedly showed true time reversal by using advanced telescopes with non-optical signals showing the Andromeda Galaxy, both the past, the present, and the future, by using this type of technology. And remember, in biology and scalar waves, DNA transmits, single photons in the form of longitudinal waves that speaks to other DNA. But when these cross, they create scalar waves. And this is how our DNA talks to itself. And that's why when you do the blood on the other side of the planet, it does what it does so quickly. This has tremendous energy potential to the scalar waves, and that's why human beings are such powerful energy transmitters. The energy of a human is nothing more, again, than measuring the scalar potential of his or her biophotons. So it's really game-changing technology. It's game-changing research. The problem is it creates these huge field densities. This is why they use it in the military. And so what happens is you have this tremendous energy being created. This is what happened with Stonehenge and the pyramids, George. They were using the scalar potential of the planet in the eddies underneath the planet as far as the energy fields and the magnetic lines. And then when the continental plate shift occurred, what happens is all of these things were turned off. And they were doing this to control the attention field of the planet. And this is what the Druids have been taught to do many, many, many years ago by the fallen angels. In fact, the Druids were taught by the fallen angels to control the hologram by controlling the attention field, thereby controlling the hyperdimensional physics of these eddies and this power that runs through the planet and these currents that flow through the lines.
These scalar waves, is there anything that could go wrong with it, where something is so disruptive it could destroy part of the planet?
Well, yes. Tesla said that. And Tesla said he could take and split the planet in half by using the same energy frequency with the scalar waves, with these energy frequency modulators. He tied it to a skyscraper when he was living in New York, and actually tied it to the skyscraper, started putting the opposite frequency of the beams through the skyscraper, and the entire building started to shake and the windows were being blown out of it. And he said that if he had continued, the entire building would have been turned to dust. Sounds familiar, right?
Sure does.
Powder. And so he said he has the ability to do that. And if he continued to do it with the resonant frequency coming from the planet using the scalar technology, he could split the entire planet in half. So a lot of people believe this is the type of technology that was used to destroy the one planet that is now part of the asteroid field in our galaxy, in our solar system.
Are we the only person with this kind of technology?